Good afternoon, dear students. Today we are going to discuss about UV visible spectroscopy or UV visible spectrophotometry. What is spectroscopy? It is a branch of science that deals with the study of interaction of matter with light, or it deals with the study of interaction of electromagnetic radiations with matter. Now, what is the principle of spectroscopy? What is the principle? It is based on the principle is based on measurement of spectrum of a sample containing atoms or molecules. So the principle of spectroscopy is based on measurement of spectrum of a sample. The spectrum of a sample is characteristic of that sample. Now what is a spectrum? It is a graph of intensity of absorbed or emitted light versus the frequency or wavelength. Usually we prepare or we draw a spectrum, that is a graph of a sample, by plotting absorption on x-axis and wavelength on y-axis. Say like this, you have you plot absorbance on x-axis, absorbance is plotted on y-axis, and wavelength of light, that is which is represented by lambda, is plotted on x-axis. Say for any compound, if you go on measuring the absorbance of the compound at different wavelength, you will get different absorbance and you may get a graph like this. So at one point there is a peak, that means the absorbance is highest. So that wavelength we have to determine the absorption maxima. Now this graph is called as a spectrum, which is plotted by plotting a graph of absorbance versus wavelength of light used. At different wavelength we measure the absorbance of the same compound, and then we get a graph like this. Okay, the peak of the graph where the absorbance is highest is called as absorption maxima. Okay, the wavelength at which the compound absorbs maximum amount of light is the absorption maxima. So with the help of this absorption spectrum, we can calculate absorption maxima. Okay, so the principle of spectroscopy is based on measurement of the spectrum of a sample, which is characteristic for each and every compound. Now, how do you plot this graph? By using, and how do you measure the absorbance of a substance? By using a machine called as spectrophotometer, by using a instrument which we call as spectrophotometer. So what is a spectrophotometer? It is an instrument designed to measure the absorbance spectrum of a compound. Okay, so instrument which is designed to measure the absorption spectrum of a compound. We can plot the absorption spectrum of a compound. Now let us discuss about the instrumentation of UV visible spectrophotometer. The instrumentation, right? The different components of a UV visible spectrophotometer are: the first component is radiation energy source. Okay, a source of radiant energy. It is a light source, right? Second component is a monochromator. A monochromator is a device which breaks polychromatic light into component wavelength, rather which breaks polychromatic light into monochromatic light, because we require monochromatic light for measuring the absorbance. The third component of a spectrophotometer is a sample holding compartment. Okay, or it is a, you can say, socket where you place a tube which we call as cuvette. The cuvette is filled with the sample, right? So the third part is sample or cuvette sample holding device. The fourth component of a spectrophotometer is a photosensitive detector, and the fifth is the recorder. So what are the components of a spectrophotometer? Radiant energy source, then wavelength selector or a monochromator, then sample compartment, then photosensitive detector, and a recorder. How are they arranged? So there is a radiant energy source from which light passes to the wavelength selector, which can be a monochromator, which splits the polychromatic light into monochromatic light, which then goes to the sample. Okay, through the light passes through the sample, some amount of light is absorbed, some is emitted, which is detected by the photosensitive detector, and you get a readout, or a recorder is there which gives you a readout. Okay, so if you look at the schematic diagram of a representation of a UV visible spectrophotometer, you have a source of light represented in red. Okay, the light first passes through the entrance slit. The entrance slit, the prism, and the exit slit Together they form a monochromator. So the light passes through a monochromator, goes to the sample, okay, then it passes out, some amount of light is absorbed, some is transmitted, which passes through the detector, which then goes to the amplifier, and you get a readout of how much light is absorbed. Okay, now coming to each and every component one by one. The first component is source of radiant energy or energy source. As far as UV light is concerned, if you are operating the instrument in ultraviolet region, we use either a hydrogen lamp, that is hydrogen discharge lamp, or a deuterium lamp, or a xenon lamp. So the most widely used radiant energy source in ultraviolet region is the hydrogen lamp, which consists of two electrodes contained in deuterium filled silica envelope. Okay? With hydrogen discharge lamp, it is filled with hydrogen. With deuterium discharge lamp, it is filled with deuterium. Right. So instead of hydrogen lamp, we can also use a deuterium lamp, but preferably hydrogen lamps are used. Okay, other than deuterium lamp, what is the radiant energy source for UV spectrophotometer? Xenon discharge lamp, but xenon lamps are not used being unstable. We generally use hydrogen lamp or deuterium lamp. And if you are using a UV visible spectrophotometer, then the spectrophotometer should have a radiant energy source for UV region also and for visible region also. So a UV visible spectrophotometer have both deuterium or hydrogen lamp as well as tungsten filament lamp. Tungsten filament lamp is required for emitting radiations in visible range. Okay, so a UV visible spectrophotometer has both hydrogen lamp as well as tungsten filament lamp, and the selection of lamp is made by moving the lamp mounting. Okay, so radiant energy source as far as UV range is concerned is either hydrogen lamp or deuterium lamp, or rarely a xenon lamp. What is the source of radiation in visible range? Generally a tungsten filament lamp is used. It will emit out radiation in a range of say 350 to 2500 nanometer. Okay, and instead of using a tungsten filament lamp, a carbon arc can be used, but the preferable source of visible radiation is the tungsten filament lamp. Okay, so that is regarding radiant energy source. So radiant energy source for UV light, UV rays is hydrogen lamp or deuterium lamp or xenon lamp. Radiant energy source in visible range is a preferably tungsten filament lamp or sometimes carbon arc. If you are using the instrument in infrared region, then a Nernst blower can be used. Okay, now the second component of the spectrophotometer is the wavelength selection device or a wavelength selector. Why do we need a wavelength selector? All these radiation energy source that I told you, they emit polychromatic light. That means light of various wavelength. Say from 200 to 350 nanometer for UV range. Say 350 to 2500 nanometer like tungsten filament lamp. But we need to measure the absorbance of a sample at a particular wavelength. That means we need monochromatic light, light of a single wavelength. Right. That is why we need a wavelength selector. The wavelength selector splits the polychromatic light into component wavelength, and light of a single wavelength, that is monochromatic light, will pass through the sample. That is why we need a wavelength selector. Two types of wavelength selectors are used, either a monochromator or a filter. Monochromators are generally used in spectrophotometers, and filters are generally used in colorimeters because they are not so sensitive and they give you a broad bandwidth of light. Right? So filters are used in colorimeters, which are designed to operate only in visible range. Okay, so colorimeters operate only in visible range, where we use a filter, which is nothing but a wavelength selector. So what is a filter? How the filter works? The filter works by absorbing light in all regions except one, which it reflects. Say for example, I want a light of 600 nanometer. Then if I command the instrument that is 600 nanometer light is required, the filter will absorb all light except one, that is 600 nanometer. So the filter will absorb all light except one, which it reflects, and the reflected light, that is monochromatic light, goes to the sample holding device, or it passes through the sample. Right? So it will emit out monochromatic light, as we assume that. Okay. So what is a filter made up of? Filters are made up of gelatin slabs. Okay, so they are gelatin filters are made using a layer of gelatin, a small slab of gelatin, which is colored with organic dyes. If you want a green filter, it is colored with green dye, red filter, red dye, like that. So green filters, red filters, blue filters, okay, orange filters, these are all available. So gelatin filters consist of a slab of gelatin colored with organic dyes, and the slab of gelatin is sealed in between two glass plates. This filter resolves polychromatic light into monochromatic light, but the monochromatic light is having wide bandwidth, that is 40 nanometer. So there will be a you can say range of 40 nanometer. If I select 600 nanometer light, that means it will not emit out light of only 600 nanometer. 40 nanometer here and there will be there. Okay, so it resolves polychromatic light into relatively wide bandwidth, that is 40 nanometer, and they are commonly used only in colorimeters because they have less transmittance. Okay, so what are the different kinds of filters? Glass filters. They are made from colored glasses. Okay, glass filters are made from pieces of colored glasses which transmit light of wavelength range of spectrum wide bandwidth, say 150 nanometers. So generally gelatin filters are preferred. So as I told you, they have a gelatin slab colored with organic dyes packed between two glass plates. Okay, and the other type of monochromators are prisms and diffraction gratings. Let us discuss now. A monochromator is generally used in a spectrophotometer. The monochromator consist of various components. Okay, yeah, the monochromator consists of following component parts. Now the dispersion device means which will split the light into polychromatic light into component wavelengths. The dispersion device in a monochromator can be a prism or it can be a diffraction grating. These are used in spectrophotometers. The prism or gratings are the devices which disperse the light, but diffraction gratings are more superior to prisms. So let us now discuss about monochromators. What do? They resolve polychromatic radiation into selective wavelength as very narrow band. Okay, rather they split polychromatic light into monochromatic light of a narrow band. So what a monochromator consists of? It consists of an entrance slit. The entrance slit is a small gap through which polychromatic light enters inside. So you have a radiant energy source from which polychromatic light is emitted, and the light enters inside the monochromator through a narrow gap or a slit, which we call as entrance slit. From the entrance slit, it goes to the collimating lens, which is a collecting lens, which collects the polychromatic light, and the collimating lens focuses the polychromatic light on the dispersion device. So the first part, entrance slit through which polychromatic light enters inside, collimating lens collect the polychromatic light and focus it on the dispersion device. Then the third part is the dispersion device, which may be a prism or a grating. What the prism or grating do? The prism or grating split the polychromatic light into monochromatic light of different wavelengths. Okay. Then there is a focusing lens. The focusing lens collects the light and it allows only light of single wavelength, that is monochromatic light, selective wavelength light, to pass out through the exit slit. So monochromator consists of entrance slit, collimating lens, dispersion device which is a prism or a grating, focusing lens, and then the exit slit. So the light passes out through the exit slit, light of selected wavelength. So you can see here, this is a diagram of where the dispersion device is a diffraction grating. So here is the source of polychromatic light. Polychromatic light enters inside through the entrance slit. Through the entrance slit, it goes to the collimating lens. This one is a collimating lens. From the collimating lens focuses the light on what? A dispersion device. The dispersion device here is a diffraction grating. Now the diffraction grating or the grating disperses. Okay, it splits the polychromatic light into monochromatic light. So you can see here the polychromatic light is split up into monochromatic light. All that light is collected by the focusing lens. So the other lens used here is this is the focusing lens. So it will collect the light, okay, and it will allow only light of single wavelength to pass through the exit slit. Through the exit slit, other wavelength lights are discarded, and through the exit slit light of single wavelength, rather you can say selected wavelength light, will come out, and when it comes out of the exit slit it will go and pass on the sample. Okay, so you, and one more thing, the whole monochromator is, okay, enclosed in a light tight box. Okay, the monochromator is packed in a light tight box. Light will not enter from any other sides except the entrance slit. Light will enter only from the entrance slit, and what will enter? The light from the radiant energy source. So what will happen if we have a prism? So the light enters through the entrance slit, which is, say, there is an entrance slit. So here there is an entrance slit from where polychromatic light enters. Then there is a collimating lens, or rather there is a, sorry, so there is light source which enters through the slit. Okay, the collimating lens collect the polychromatic light and it focuses the collimating light on the dispersion device, that is the prism here. The prism splits up the light into individual wavelength, which then passes through the focusing lens, and the focusing lens discards all light, but light of single wavelength will come out of the exit slit, and through the exit slit the light goes to the sample. So all this setup is packed in a light tight box. So now there are two types of prisms which are generally used. Okay, they are 60-degree Cornu quartz prism and 30-degree litro prism. Okay, the apical angle, how the prism works depends upon its apical angle, and depending upon the apical angle, whether it is of 60-degree or 30-degree, we have two types of prisms that are used. 60-degree Cornu quartz prism or 30-degree litro prism are the commonly used ones. Okay, and simple prisms are employed in visible range. If you are using in visible range, simple prism. Now what is the material from which the prism is made? Silica or fused silica or quartz prisms are used in UV region. Fluorite is employed in vacuum UV region. Glass prisms are used in visible region. Now usually what happens, either we can use a diffraction grating or we can use a prism as a source of this is the diagram of a diffraction grating. So what a diffraction grating consists of, you can see here, this is the highly aluminized surface having edges. There are grooves, you can see. So this is a grating having grooves on it. Now here is the polychromatic light which falls on the prism. Polychromatic light falls on the diffraction grating. This is a diffraction grating having etched surfaces, marked grooves. Okay. Now as soon as it falls on the diffraction grating, the light is split up into various wavelengths by the grating. You can see from the diagram. Okay, and through the exit slit, all this light of different wavelength, okay, of different colors is collected by the focusing lens, and focusing lens allows only light of single wavelength to pass out through the exit slit. So this is how a diffraction grating looks like. So diffraction grating consists of a highly aluminized surface having grooves on it. Okay, and these grooves are called as lines. There are as many as 600 to 2000 lines in a millimeter. Okay, so through when you focus the polychromatic light falls on it. This is called as incident light. This is the angle of incident light. Now this light is split up into different wavelengths by the diffraction grating. Is that clear? That is how a diffraction grating works. Right. Now generally the monochromator consists of both prism and grating. Okay, but diffraction grating is superior to prism. So generally monochromator may consist of both prism as well as a grating. The prism may be placed before the grating and it is called as foreprism. The prism selects a region of spectrum which is then passed on to the diffraction grating, and the grating will diffract the light. Okay, so this adjustment, that is a foreprism followed by a diffraction grating, allowed resolution of a single wavelength. So you get a good resolution. If you use only prism, you may not get a good resolution of single wavelength light, but gratings are superior. So prisms are placed before the grating called as foreprism. Foreprism selects the region of spectrum, then it passes to the grating diffracts it, and it will give you good resolution of only single wavelength light. Okay. Now, when the light comes out through the monochromator. We assume it is a monochromatic light, and the monochromatic light then passes through the sample. Now, where do you place the sample? The sample is placed in a sample container, which is called as a cuvette. The cuvette may be a round bottom like a test tube, which we use in a colorimeter. The cuvette may be rectangular in shape, which is used in a spectrophotometer. Okay, so round bottom cuvettes or round cuvettes are used in colorimeters, and rectangular cuvettes are used in spectrophotometers. So let us discuss about the sample containers, or which we call as cuvette. So the sample is placed in the cuvette, and then the cuvette with the sample is placed in the sample compartment. The monochromatic light coming out of the monochromator passes through the sample, and then it goes to the detector, which is a photosensitive, which may be a photodiode, which may be the detector may be a photocell, barrier cell, photomultiplier, depending upon what is there in your instrument. Okay, so the sample container or sample cells are called as cuvettes. So variety of sample cells are available for UV region. The choice of sample cell is based on what path length you want, what is the thickness of cuvette which you want. Okay, so path length, it may be 1 millimeter to 1 centimeter. Generally 1 centimeter cuvettes are used. The transmission characteristic and the expenses which you can bear. The cell holding the sample should be transparent to the wavelength region to be recorded. Okay, if you are using light of visible range, we prefer using a glass cuvette. Okay, if we are using light in UV range, we are operating the instrument in UV range, quartz or fused silica cuvettes are required for spectroscopy in the UV region. Okay, quartz or fused silica cuvettes are required in UV region. Is that clear? Okay. So if we are operating the instrument in UV region, we will use a quartz cuvette or a fused silica cuvette. We prefer using a quartz cuvette. If we are operating instrument or we are using a colorimeter which works only in visible range, we will use a glass cuvette. The majority of the samples employed in UV visible spectrophotometers are solutions. So the solutions are placed in a sample holding device or a cell, which is called as a cuvette for measurement. Cuvettes are small rectangular glass or quartz containers. They are often designed so that light beams travels a distance of 1 centimeter. That means the path length or thickness is 1 centimeter through the content. But the path length may vary from 1 millimeter to 2 millimeter up to 10 centimeter. So the thickness or the path length may be variable depending upon our requirement, but preferably the thickness of the cuvette is 1 centimeter. That means the thickness of the path length is 1 centimeter. The sample cell contains a solution. Okay, now you have a sample which is to be dissolved in the solvent. So the solvent is to be chosen very judiciously. The solvent that wherein you are going to dissolve your solute should not absorb in the same range as that of your solute. So most cuvettes are designed to fit into 1 centimeter square holder in the instrument. So this is how a cuvette looks. It's a rectangular cuvette which is used in a UV visible spectrophotometer. Now there are two sides through which the light pass, and there are two sides through which light do not pass. So the two sides from where the light passes through the cuvette are precision ground and well polished, because light is going to pass through it. And the two other side from where we can hold the cuvette are made up of rough glasses. Rough, okay, the sides are rough. Now you have to take care that the outer surface of the cuvette should be very clean. It should not have any lipid or fatty or oily deposit because we touch it with your hand. So it should be clean, okay, free from any tenacious material, because it will affect the absorbance. So the cuvettes are to be washed with distilled water, but if they have some oily or fatty or tenacious substance, you have to wash them with certain chemicals. So the cuvette should be very clean. The rectangular cuvettes are generally held from the two sides having rough glass, and the two sides which are polished or precision ground are those from where the light passes. Okay. Now, as the light comes out, when the monochromatic light passes through the cuvette, the solution will absorb some light and transmit. Now, the light passes through. Whatever amount of light is absorbed by the sample is to be detected, right? or whatever light is transmitted is to be detected, and for that purpose we require detectors. Detector can be the photosensitive detectors we use in a spectrophotometer, can be a barrier cell which is generally used in a colorimeter, it may be a photodiode, it may be a photomultiplier, it may be a phototube, but that depends upon your requirement and the instruments. We will discuss about the detectors in our next class.